whether Americans are to be free men or slaves. Our cruel and unrelenting enemy leaves us only the choice of brave resistance or the most abject submission. We have, therefore, to resolve to conquer or die.
I watch them fight and die in the name of freedom. They speak of liberty and justice, but for who?
On him!
One of the most anticipated titles in gaming history. Now, in this 4-part series, get an inside look on the making of this truly revolutionary game. Inside the process of the creative team, the designers, writers, artists, and animators who brought it to life.
That's what we need. It's going to be better than this cloud of smoke.
Inside the technical breakthroughs that made it all possible. And inside the American Revolution, with interviews from war historians.
There was a slaughter on the ground.
Soldiers.
It's guerrilla warfare.
And weapons experts. Who show us inside Assassin's Creed 3.
I don't think people realize how big an undertaking it is, how many people it takes to sort of achieve the level of quality and scope that we have.
Assassin's Creed 3 is a big scale game. The amount of things that are produced per day, that are developed per day, it's amazing.
The team has grown to be several hundred people in 5 studios around the world, all of them working on really specific elements, so the amount of work is just staggering.
In total, it's over 30 hours of gameplay, and we have 2.5 hours of cinematics, which is as much as any major length movie, or even more.
We have an amazing team on AC3. Everyone's super passionate about the project.
When we started AC3, we knew it had to be big and ambitious and different.
It's very rare in your career that you get an opportunity to try and go for the gold medal, and we really felt like this was our shot at it. A lot of tired people on the floor right now, but a lot of happy, tired people. We've always tried to pick exciting periods in history and drop the player in, so they're exploring that time as well as our fictional story.
Make ready. Present.
The American Revolution was a very pivotal time because the concept of self-government as opposed to being governed by royals, it was very radical for the era.
It's a great setting for a game because there's high stakes. It was the founding of a nation. It was a time when an individual could make a difference. It was all or nothing. They had to win or die.
The Revolutionary War was an incredibly brutal experience.
This is something you just don't really hear about in the history books, and something we wanted to bring to life in the game.
Connor is our new hero in Assassin's Creed 3. He's half British, half Mohawk. He's humble and more grounded to nature type of person.
We did a lot of research into Native American culture. We've recorded dialogue in their native language.
Excellent. I loved it.
And we've tried very hard to reflect their culture as accurately as possible.
His name, Radun Hagedum, it refers to a life that is scratched, meaning that he had to struggle to survive.
Connor, as a hero, is someone who sees himself as a defender of the people.
He's more inclined to justice than revenge.
One thing to declare our independence. Now, my friend, we must make it so.
Connor's goal is to assassinate key historical figures at major battles, at major events during the Revolution.
He's a stealth operator. He can come out and viciously make a great kill, then blend right back in.
If George Washington would have had Connor on his team, he wouldn't have needed many other people.
Anvil Next is an engine that gives us the possibility to do things that were not possible to do before.
The weather system, the seasons, the formidable snow, bigger worlds in general, the ocean. It's the sum of 3 years of improvements that we've built upon.
Brand new navigation system, brand new combat system, 2,500 characters on screen at any one time, being able to cut through interiors in the city. Anvil Next is a massive leap forward in terms of gameplay opportunities.
Cliffs, trees, climbable stuff, the water, that was pretty exciting but also very challenging.
We've got the frontier. As well, we've got two of our major cities, Boston and New York.
Once we dug up maps from the period, we tried to match street for street or major avenue for major avenue. We recreated Boston and New York at about 1:3 scale.
We set out with crazy ambitions for this game, and with Anvil Next, it brings the experience to a whole new level.
The fascinating thing for us is that we can bring history to life. We can actually make it a place that's explorable and vibrant and real. We hope we're offering by far the biggest and best Assassins yet.
Next time on Inside Assassin's Creed 3, combat, weapons, and tactics.
American tactics were really frowned upon by the British.
He's trained in a very different style of fighting to the British soldiers.
Connor is essentially the first guerrilla fighter.
In this 4-part series, get an inside look on the making of one of the most anticipated titles in gaming history. This is Inside Assassin's Creed 3.
Something we really wanted to emphasize was the sheer brutality of combat in the period.
We've all seen the paintings of the Revolution, and death is glorified, death is angelic, but it wasn't that way on the battlefield. It was a brutal conflict.
It feels that you're constantly going through dynamic fights, and that's not something technically we could do in the past. So it was like a personal challenge on the team to say, no, I think we can do this. These armies are filled with different types of weapons. So, you have everything from muskets, you have grenadiers, you have guys with boarding axes.
Being shot by a musket would be an awfully painful way to go. The caliber size of the ball was at least 3 or 4 times as large as anything that any modern military is using today.
After the muskets were discharged, they would charge with their bayonets. What basically is a giant spear, and he has every intention of running that through you.
They would shoot and then they would march, and that hand-to-hand combat was really brutal. And whether it's people using a bayonet affixed on the end of a musket, a small hatchet, this is a kind of killing that is very mano a mano.
All the animations, all the weapons are brand new.
It was interesting to start on a new style of fighting that is much more close and aggressive.
Connor's favorite weapon is the tomahawk, obviously super deadly in hand-to-hand combat. Also the bow and arrow. It fits with his native heritage and it's lethal.
The rope dart, it's a real accurate Chinese tool that we found the references for that period as well. He can use it from the ground, so he can bring the enemy towards him. It gives him the ability, for example, on a tree, to hang someone from above. In Assassin's Creed 3, the one thing that we decided to do is to revamp the fight system from scratch.
We wanted the skill in the combat in the game to be about transitioning from character to character by choosing the right moves, by performing them correctly. It allows you to basically mow your way through large numbers of people if you're good enough without stopping.
What do you do if you go into a bunch of guys with muskets and they try and shoot you? So we had to figure out, can you dodge them? Can you run away? And we've added all these options, but our big one is the meat shield, where you can grab a guy and he gets shot instead. Our mocap guys are stuntmen. We spend a long time with them rehearsing and figuring out exactly what would be the greatest choreography. Ready to go through, like multiple people.
Connor is trained in a very different style of fighting to the British soldiers.
The close quarters flow of the combat that's happening between the punches, the kicks, and everything else is indicative of what happens in the real world.
I'm very impressed by the moves that they do. It's cool to see push kicks and axe kicks and different sort of takedowns that are done correctly and very believable when they're done. We're hand right, punch to the face, boom, to the throat, to the groin, finish with boom.
This is something new for us that we're really proud of. It's fast, it's fluid, and you go through these guys like butter.
Connor is essentially the first guerrilla fighter. He's someone whose goal is always to move behind enemy lines, to pick off his target, and to escape.